What's up, guys? I'm Chad Barnes, and welcome to the channel. Here, it's all about real car talk, from simple fixes to smart driving tips and keeping your ride in top shape. If that sounds good to you, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, and make sure you watch all the way through. There's a lot of good stuff coming. Let's get to it.
Dodge Caliber is built on a budget platform for the American market, but in a format suitable for other countries. The model was offered in Australia, China, Europe and Russia. For its class, Caliber is as simple as possible, but it has its own advantages, maintainability and relative cheapness in operation. The model is based on Chrysler PM/MK platform. It is a variation of Mitsubishi GS Bogie, on which Lancer, ASX and even Outlander XL are made. However, with serious American accent, wiring here is different, and rear suspensions have serious differences from Japanese models. Otherwise, it is a typical platform with a large all-steel body. There is no aluminum in the design at all, typical for the class. Suspensions McPherson in front and Multilink rear. Base drive is front, optional all-wheel drive is realized by means of angular gearbox and electromagnetic clutch on the rear axle. The engines are 4-cylinder series Chrysler World engine developed by the Gemma Alliance, atmospheric 1.8, 2.0 and 2.4. Liters and supercharged 2.4 for the SRT-4 version. Daimler Chrysler, as owner of the Dodge brand, participated in the development of these engines, known as the 4B1 series for Mitsubishi. And Theta-2 for Hyundai. The engines are conventionally interchangeable, but not identical. It should be taken into account that even the cylinder blocks are slightly but different from Japanese and Korean ones, not to mention the piston group, auxiliary equipment, configuration of the power system and gaskets. Features in the operation of these motors also have their own. Volkswagen 2.0 TDI diesels are also available on Dodge. Americans did not have their own, and diesel motors were assembled relatively close to the caliber produced in the USA in Mexico. Transmissions are represented by 5- and 6-speed manual variants, the alternative to which was a Variator Jatco. The Variator was combined only with 2.0 and 2.4-liter gasoline engines without supercharging, and the supercharged one was equipped exclusively with a 6-speed manual transmission from GetRag. Chronology January 2006. The production car made its debut at the Detroit International Auto Show. March 2006. Start of sales in the U.S. of front-wheel drive versions of the 1.8, 148 horsepower with 5-speed manual transmission, as well as 2.0-liter, 158 horsepower and 2-handled, and 4, 172 horsepower with Variator and automatic transmission. The more powerful variant was also available with all-wheel drive and CVT. For Europe and Australia, the car was delivered with a diesel 2.0 TDI 138 horsepower produced by Volkswagen and only with MKP. February 2008. SRT-4 version on mechanics with all-wheel drive, 2.4, 285 horsepower turbocharged engine appeared. A new diesel version with 170 horsepower with automatic transmission is added. November 2011. The last of 400,000 copies of Caliber are produced at the plant in Illinois. Body. Exterior panels. At first glance, the epithet, the body, as at jiggly in relation to Dodge Caliber will be a hint. Formally, the American has galvanization, and the metal is painted qualitatively. Even shine coating keeps for a long time. Only here the varnish with time can begin to peel off from bumpers and between body panels, except that the finger does not enter. It is objectively far away from the minimum gaps and paint firmly holding on plastic that Europeans are accustomed to. Sometimes the bodies of cars that have not even been in accidents look crooked. At one time there was even a legend about it. They say that the difficult conditions of delivery to Russia are to blame. I find it hard to believe, but my acquaintances did receive a new car with such a crooked body. Perhaps it was the weak construction of the power frame or poor work in securing the car on the ship if the fasteners are over-tightened many times over, and the surface under the wheels is uneven, the body may be distorted. In any case, the doors on that model closed shakily, and it was impossible to get clearances like a normal new car. And acquaintances were far from being the only victims, although many people did not refuse such cars, but used them. It's a new one. However, the saddest thing is that the body corrodes, despite galvanization and use of strictly American materials for paint coating and American steel. First of all, sills and arches rot, and also all joints of fender panels and bumpers. The roof edge, places of chipped paintwork, lower parts and edges of doors are not far behind in the speed of corrosion. Bugs come out on all external surfaces, including the flat part of the roof. Corrosion does not spare the frame of the hood, trunk lid under the plastic cover and along the bottom edge. Dodge without underpaint, rust and with original sills in our area will soon become a rarity. In southern regions, where cars do not see not only salt, but even snow, sills and doors rot a little, yes, and roof and hood edges bloom. Even cars of recent years have numerous bugs and sometimes even outright holes. What to say about the copies of the first editions? The condition does not depend directly on the asking price either. Variants of the 10 most expensive flaunt approximately the same set of troubles as the cheap ones. Among the latter you can even look for something more interesting, without traces of budget repair of thresholds and hasty plastering of problem places. The main thing is to search patiently and strictly in the southern regions. Sometimes there are machines of garage storage and with high-quality antica made immediately after purchase. But these are single offers and they are dispersed among fans very quickly. It is difficult to find the ideal, rather you can count on the best of the worst. The matter is in the economy of the manufacturer and in the design. For example, the design of the rear arch, in which it is covered by the door, always leads to the early appearance of corrosion. A similar misfortune haunts, for example, Land Rover Freelander 2, Skoda Yeti Opel Omega B. Well, rubber seals swollen from corrosion. Of the frame are just a classic of American automobile industry and Japanese in many respects. If you are buying a caliber north of the Krasnodar region, a thorough body inspection is a must. No looking in the evening, assessing the condition from a photo or a wet or dirty car. And an endoscope to look into sills and hidden cavities will be very useful. Underneath. The underbody generally holds up well, but surface corrosion is present on almost all elements, areas near seams and small brackets are rusty, as are all the numerous studs. Red patina in the arches and even on the seams are minor things on the caliber. The fringe along the bottom of the inside of the arch is the real nuisance. And the mounting bracket for the TPMS tire pressure monitoring system sensor in the front arch is simply rotted away, and that one dangles on the wiring. It is absolutely useless to look for Dodge caliber without corrosion from the bottom. In the best case you will meet a copy in which the metal is still relatively intact. If you want, you can clean the problem places without resorting to welding, or just drive a few more years, updating the penetrating anti-corrosion. And in another 5 years there will probably be a lot of cars with rotted floors on the market. In case of sills, the situation is already critical, they rot from the inside, and the sill reinforcement suffers at the same time. When red dots appear at the bottom of the sill, there are already layers of loose wet rust inside the cavity, and it is absolutely useless to paint from the outside. The only thing left to do is to open and re-weld with stripping of all damaged elements inside. The reasons for the troubles lie in poor ventilation and complete absence of anti-corrosion treatment of internal cavities. Thin layer of primer inside is not painted completely, and outside the sill is thin and delicate paintwork without a layer of anti-gravel. Galvanizing is only done externally, and the electroplating is extremely thin. No measures are taken to prevent it from burning in the welding points during assembly at the factory. Rust rises first of all around the welding points. The front suspension cups are rotted on the mounting studs and on the seams. And the seams can rot on the side of the mudguard of the engine compartment, and on the side of the engine shield and the upper reinforcement of the spar, as are lucky. The reasons are banal: poor seam protection, accumulation of debris and water in the overmotor niche, and lack of maintenance. Not very accurate stamping, and the resulting internal stresses of the panels, as well as sloppy joint sealant. Everything looks as if the body was assembled by hand and the panels were made on worn stamps. In general, all the charms of budget American assembly. Somewhere in California it would be the least of the troubles, but in our country it is the body that fails first. Dealers also did not carry out additional processing. In any case, there are few copies with good safety of cells. Almost all successful cars have a transparent service history and were preserved only due to the owner's care. Body equipment quality in trifles is not about Dodge. Here and locks are tender, and in window elevators applied open-work plastic brackets which regularly fall apart. And the plastic cover of a trunk lid keeps on a fair word, it constantly breaks out fasteners. Don't be surprised by sagging bumpers due to unsuccessful fasteners, weak door hinges and a skewed windshield. The number of minor breakdowns that trip up every owner of such a car is quite high. Not all elements have purely age-related problems. Many are simply flimsy and prone to failure. Something does not like cold and snow. Bumpers are banally badly painted and unsuccessful. Fasteners do not tolerate any contact. Wipers are just very cheap. The front wipers are better not to turn on when the windshield is covered with snow. And the rear one, if the brush froze to the glass or the mechanism jammed due to corrosion, it will break the case. All these elements are at least cheap in the homeland of the car, but in our country delivery terms and prices do not contribute to a calm attitude to such trifles. Sell on. If we leave aside the specific design and very low durability of the steering wheel and seats, the interior is very good. There is a lot of cheap plastic here, but it is spacious and there is some special style. In comparison, even with cheap European cars, the interior is poor, and elaboration of small elements suffers, but fans of budget Renault and even some Japanese and Koreans will not have special claims. Hardly they will pick on that many buttons are not illuminated, levers work with wrong sound, or that in budgetary complete sets there is no elevator of a driver's seat. But there is a cheerful dashboard, comfortable to sit, a lot of space for small things and a pleasant steering wheel. It is also difficult to kill the interior. If it is not washed with a hose and polished with sandpaper, it keeps its appearance for a long time. A killer air conditioner helps to reduce the amount of dust entering the cabin through the windows. It literally freezes you to the bone. Climatics is usually simple and does not cause any trouble, except for the occasional breakdown of something from the electrical system. Electrical equipment of the car is also extremely simple, and it is rather a plus. But only the quality of execution let down. The wiring of the engine compartment passes in the right wheel arch above the locker, and it rots in this zone successfully. In front of the wheel, in the same wheel recess, there is a relay block of cooling system fans, and it too does not live long in our dirt and moisture. The relay block is connected to the headlight wiring. In underhood, wiring harnesses are sometimes destroyed because the quality of wires and plastic insulation is very average. Well, and of course, wires in the corrugations of the doors, especially the driver's and rear doors, break. Wiring sometimes fails in the most unexpected places. There can be a non-sealed connector to the box or a collapsing connector of the salon braid, poorly crimped at the factory. And, of course, they do not put grease in the connectors. Another of the common failures can be noted: massively dying backlighting of the dashboard and sometimes the pointer arrows. The backlight of the emergency button does not work for almost everyone, and the buttons themselves often fail. The central locking unit here is separate and sometimes breaks down too. What is unpleasant, rotten wiring and block relay are involved in important circuits, so the car can periodically not start because of their failures. Otherwise, the problems are simple. Most of them can be solved by a person who knows how to use an ordinary tester. The main thing is not to burn the car because of short circuits. Of the pleasant little things, reliable generators, as well as the presence of a standard battery flashlight. True, it periodically needs to change the battery. But it is convenient to repair the car in the dark on the roadside. Intermediate result: it is not quite clear how such a simple inside and quickly rusting outside car still retains popularity among fans, and a price tag of 500 to 600,000 rubles on the secondary market. Maybe it is promoted by incredibly reliable motors and gearboxes. We'll get into this in detail in the second part of the material about used Dodge Caliber. In conclusion, the Dodge Caliber presents a unique case in the automotive world, particularly when it comes to its mileage and the potential issues of crooked bodies and corrosion. While many owners appreciate the vehicle's performance and design, it is crucial to remain vigilant about these concerns, especially when considering a purchase. By understanding the common pitfalls associated with accident-free cars and the effects of corrosion, you can make a more informed decision. Always prioritize thorough inspections and research to ensure that your investment in a Dodge Caliber is a sound one. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more insights on automotive topics.